Hey everybody, welcome to the Big Bluecast. Today is Wednesday, October the 21st, and we actually get to do a fun episode, a really fun episode this time. We're coming off of a football win over Tennessee at Tennessee. So, yeah, I mean, of all the predictions I could have made for that game, that was definitely one that was not even on the radar. I don't know about
Mm,
you, but just the
no,
the
not at all.
fashion.
Like I was expecting, if we were lucky, I figured we would go into the fourth quarter with a slight lead, and then somehow last second blow it like
Yeah,
usual, and Tennessee would win, and we would be lucky to finish within the spread. You know, we covered the
right.
spread, and that'd be it. So for us to
Yeah,
come out and win 34-7, wow, that was
right.
something else.
See, in my mind, I'm trying to think of just, the likelihood of different scenarios, how things could play out for that game. We kind of went into it just saying, really, we figured anything can happen. But in my mind, I was thinking it's probably going to come down. It's probably going to be a close game, and it's going to come down to the fourth quarter. We'll have a chance to win. It could go either way. That seemed like the most likely thing to me, with kind of the next tier below that being that we would come out flat and have a clunker and they'd blow us out,
Yeah.
which also just seemed like very plausible, but it never even like occurred to me to think, what if we went down there and just stomped them and just killed them?
Yeah, that
Um,
was totally unexpected.
yeah, definitely a pleasant surprise. What were what are some kind of just big takeaways from this last game to you?
Okay, it's 2 weeks in a row that the secondary has stepped it up, so doesn't appear
Yeah,
to be a fluke. Hopefully, they'll continue to take criticism though and use
right,
that as motivation and not just have a relapse back to what they were the first couple weeks of the season.
right. I mean, you said it just right, especially doing the stuff they've done the last 2 weeks. I mean, even if they come out, this Saturday against Missouri and they have a hard time, I still think at this point now we can't look back at their last 2 weeks of performance on the field and say it was a fluke. It's just a bad game or whatever. But the potential's there. Like we know they can either come out and be terrible, they can come out and be awesome. So
Yeah, and the offense is going to have to step it up.
right.
Say what you want. I mean, Terry, yeah, he's completing passes, he's being efficient in that manner, but he's not being efficient in decision making.
Yeah.
And that's blown a couple plays up. Derrick Rose, fifth year senior, has made a couple of mental errors that's been costly, like running the wrong
I,
direction on a route. Um,
yeah.
that's not on Terry. The drop passes are not on Terry.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if he could react a fraction of a second quicker, put the ball where it
Mhm.
needs to go, catch the guy in stride, instead of getting 2 or 3 yards on the pass play, you get 7, 8 yards, maybe more. Maybe the
Yeah.
guy busts it out for a big run. And we're not seeing that.
Yeah. I mean, that's like you said, the when wide receivers are getting hit in the hands and they're dropping it, or AJ Rose does something kind of silly. I mean, there's nothing he can do about that. But like you said, and this kind of harkens back to what we've been saying the last few weeks, just leading into the season is, Terry is capable of making good football plays. You know, we were talking even just last week and the week before about if he has a play drawn up, a good play, and everything goes the way it's supposed to, and he's able to hit the guy he's supposed to, like he can do some really cool stuff. And we saw this especially, I mean, we saw it in the first half, but especially where the defense kind of slackened off on Terry in the second half, you know, just whenever he has to think on the fly and get more creative, kind of come to a snap decision, we've seen him struggle a lot with that.
Yeah.
And that's something at this point, I mean, it's Terry's last year. He's been playing college football at some level for a while between junior college and Kentucky and all that stuff. So I kind of feel like we're at the point where,
He is
I
what
mean,
he
we've kind
is.
of been there. He is what he is. Exactly. And you kind of, that's what you expect from him. He might have a half where he stinks and looks like he doesn't know, his right from his left. And then he might have a second half where he comes out and just kills it.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, yeah, it kind of is what it is with him. What do you think about? all the Joey Gatewood talk about. I mean, here we are again, Kentucky football having yet another just kind of weird quarterback controversy where we've got Terry, and he's a very polarizing quarterback, as we've talked about before. But you've got this guy you brought in from Auburn, an Auburn transfer who's supposed to be good, and we don't act like there's room to at least give him a shot and see what he can do and see if he can just win the starting job.
As you
What
said
do
in our
you think?
conversation the other day, Mark Stoops does not need to insult the fans' intelligence. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, we are a basketball school, and we may not know as much about football as some of the other fan bases. But
Yeah,
we're not stupid. We're not blind. The SEC announcers, they don't just come up with this stuff off the top of their head. They've been
yeah,
talking to people on the
hmm,
inside. They've got information. They know that one half of, one page of the two-sided playbook that Eddie
hmm,
Gran likes to run is dedicated to Gatewood. It would
yeah,
not be that way if Gatewood was not competing for the job. Now,
right,
with Terry being a very emotional quarterback, as in,
yeah,
I'm not saying like he's a diva. He may be. We don't know him that personal, but
yeah,
um, without knowing that, I'll just say it's obvious that he lets his emotions, he carries them on his shoulders. Maybe a better way to
yeah,
word it.
yeah.
Because
To
if
to
he has
to
a
be a
bad,
quarterback,
yeah, if he has a couple bad series, it's hard for him to get it back.
yeah. I mean, to be a quarterback, you hear coaches say a lot of the time, especially if a quarterback's having a bad night, they have to have a short memory. They have to be able to just move on from a mistake, try something else, and not let it get it. He gets in his own head when he messes up, and for your quarterback to be a player who does something like that, it's not good. Um,
And I
that
think
can,
Gatewood just needs more time. I think he's been
yeah,
getting more snaps with the starters, which also tells me that he's being very competitive for the starting position.
sure,
And he's
yeah,
got to learn the playbook. Terry's been here. This makes 3 years.
yeah,
So he knows the playbook. He's had plenty of time to study. I know he's had injuries, but he's had time to
yeah.
study the playbook. He
He
knows
should know
Eddie
the
Gran's
offense.
plays.
Hmm.
And Gatewood does not. He just got here.
Yeah,
So it's going to take a little time. I think Gatewood
hmm,
understands that. I think he's okay with just coming in and filling in here and there. But I think we need to start seeing him more often. Like when Terry has slumps,
yeah,
like the first half of the Tennessee game.
hmm,
Terry didn't look terrible, but he didn't look good. And by the third quarter, he was looking better. But I think it was this kind of Tennessee's team just kind of giving up.
hmm.
Um,
They were
we
letting him get away with a lot more.
momentum had completely shifted our direction, and we were doing a lot in the ground. It really wasn't
Yeah,
in the air. We was doing more on the ground than anything. So Eddie Graham made some adjustments for a change, which made me happy because usually if
yeah,
we have a lead, he don't do that. So kudos to Graham.
yeah. I think he at least saw. I think Eddie Gran had to at least seen that, even though we were beating Tennessee, it really didn't have much much of anything to do with our offense. It was just the defense was scoring and going nuts, and not letting them have anything, and the offense really wasn't staying on the field long enough to give the defense a breather.
Yeah,
So, I mean, he had to have gone into the locker room understanding my side of my side of things needs to step up a little bit and contribute more.
yeah.
Yeah, like you said, he did make the adjustments and they did look better. It looked like they were putting together more creative stuff. It's very good to see. Um, yeah, especially, and we'll see this kind of down the stretch of the season, like when we get later on to like South Carolina game, stuff like that. Um, some of these quote unquote easier games, even though there's not really easy games in the SEC only
Yeah,
schedule this year.
and boy, am I glad that the SEC made that schedule change
Oh man,
because
yeah,
after Georgia had to lead at halftime and then didn't score a single point in the second half, so
just yeah,
they're
throttled.
going to
Just
want to put on a show.
hmm,
And
yeah,
as far as all that talk with the SEC being crappy on defense, I
yeah,
think they're starting to figure it out.
yeah. I mean, seriously, between Kentucky and just these other teams that are actually showing out now in the last week or 2 weeks, yeah. I mean, uh, a lot of the stuff we've seen, I think, really showcases like how important tune-up games are.
Yeah, the coordinators
you
get a
know,
chance to see tape, they get a chance to see the team perform in a game, and see what they need to do as
yeah,
far as personnel adjustments. And Bama made those at halftime against Georgia,
yeah,
and yeah, they
hmm,
embarrassed them in the second half.
just killed them. Um, yeah, especially when you think about the fact that, I mean, you really can't be upset with how, as a body of work, what Kentucky's season has been
No,
so far. because you think about it, usually we would have at least one game against some team we've never heard of to really, even if, the secondary is looking terrible or just whatever's happening, like we're probably still going to be fine and they can just work through that stuff, make those mistakes. But when your first game's against Auburn, even though, Auburn, isn't what you traditionally think of as Auburn this year, but still, playing a top 10 team in your very first game. I mean, they struggled with a lot of stuff, but we definitely did.
We shot
And
ourselves in the foot the first 2 weeks.
exactly. I mean, we
The
were
Auburn
just
game was
very
closer
prone.
than the score.
Yeah. And like that's the thing. It's like if we'd had like one or two games leading up to that Auburn game, like I honestly think we're probably going to win that game
Yeah, I mean,
because for
we had what,
sure.
three
Because
turnovers against Auburn. If
mhm,
you take those turnovers away, we win that game.
yeah, if you crack down on those turnovers and if the secondary is more like resembles more what we saw
Yeah,
this past weekend and the weekend before, then yeah, you probably go in and beat
yeah.
them.
Second week, same
um,
story. Turnovers. We lost the
yeah,
turnover margin, lost the game. Even though we
yeah,
dominated every other statistic, both the first
hmm
games, the turnovers killed us.
yeah.
And the
Like
last
you
two
never.
games, it's been the opposite. We have led the turnover margin and we've dominated the stats. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, even in those losses, like it didn't look like you know, especially in years past, we're used to looking at Kentucky on the football side of things and saying, well, we just don't have the talent or whatever. And looking at that, it's like, okay, we're just doing dumb stuff, but we're capable of more. It's not like we're going in and playing Auburn and going, we can't beat these guys. We're outclassed.
yeah.
I mean, it was right there. Um, and even Ole Miss, like, should we have lost that game? Like, no, we had no business losing that game. It was totally our fault. But, we're starting to see now over these last 2 weeks, like if they crack down on the mistakes and just start making better decisions, the secondary's getting stuff figured out. If the offense can start rolling, with some bit of consistency from week to week, then like I actually think we have a really good football team on our hands. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is.
um, yeah, I mean, just top to bottom, we're not really used to seeing that. And just, we've always had these kind of goofy quarterback controversies at UK, especially like in the Stoops era, where it's, oh, well, this guy's not what we thought he was going to be. Bring in the backup that no one's ever seen play, and blah blah blah. And we're seeing more of that again this year. I mean, it's kind of refreshing though that we have a quarterback controversy where I mean, yeah, Terry Wilson has his detractors and his supporters, but the guy that we're wanting to send in, like, by all accounts, should be a good quarterback. Like,
Yeah.
it,
And he's looked
it's
good
a
when he's
good,
came in.
mhm, yeah. I mean, it's a good problem to have. And like you said, I mean, the comments that Stoops made after the game, where he was basically assuring everyone, no, there is absolutely like no threat to Terry's job and everything else. It's like you said, I pretty much said after that, like it's kind of an insult to our intelligence. One, because we know like that's not true, and two, if even if that was true, and they've been telling the players like there's no way that Terry's losing his starting job, my question would be why? Like why is that not possible? I mean, I like Terry. I think he's
Yeah.
capable of doing really good stuff and should still get a good, a chance to keep going out and keep his job. But if your backup that you got to transfer in has no shot at the starting job, and he comes from like a top SEC school, why did you bring him in?
Yeah, why
Why
did
is
you go
he?
get the number 3 dual threat quarterback in his class?
Yeah, I mean,
um,
yeah, I mean,
why?
the appropriate. I would think. I mean, one, the fans are going to like it better, but it speaks to the kind of upward trajectory that our program's on to come out and say, like we have this guy who could come in and do something. Like it's still Terry's offense right now, but if this guy shows out, like it's
Yeah, for the big Terry
it's not.
Wilson fans, I'm not trying to begrudge the guy or belittle
Yeah,
him. He's a good quarterback. He's just not a great quarterback.
yeah,
And we need a
um,
great quarterback if we're going to move
right,
on. So I'm curious to see what Gatewood can do, and we brought him here for a reason. So,
yeah,
I think a lot of
yeah,
fans have a reason to talk about that. Now, some fans are just absolutely like terrible to Terry, and it's like
yeah,
we've had worse. So,
yeah, right.
chill
And
out a little.
you get the really drastic people who they watch him make his first mistake of the game, and they're like, "All right, get him out of
Yeah,
here."
they're throwing beer
It's
bottles
like,
across the room.
I
Yeah,
mean, that kind of stuff. I mean, like I understand, if this year, if the roster kind of resembled more like years past, then we'd probably have like Terry Wilson and we'd have Bo Allen as his backup. And if, things really hit the fan, then you'd be saying, okay, throw the freshman in there and see what he can do. But you wouldn't really be expecting him to see meaningful minutes.
No.
But, this is a different thing now. I mean, we're trying to move up like another tier in the SEC. I mean, we started out terrible kind of at this mid level. We're trying to, crack up a little bit higher, and that means going and getting guys like Joey Gatewood and using them.
Yeah.
And if he's our, quarterback of the future, I mean, like you said, he obviously needs to like learn our offense and our playbook and everything else, and probably just take that luxury of being able, to be weaned in this year. But, I feel like especially just the stiff competition that we're going to be playing the rest of the season, especially like if things are going the way they were going on Saturday and oh, here we are, we're beating a team by, almost 30 points, throw him in for a little bit longer and just see what
Yeah,
he can
more than the
do.
last series of the game.
Yeah. And they didn't really let him do much of anything anyway.
No. And
Uh,
yet he went down the field.
yeah. I mean, it looked good. So it's like if we find ourselves in a rut, I mean, I understand, you try to keep things rolling, let the quarterback kind of play through the mistakes and the problems and iron it out. But I don't know, it's just frustrating when you can tell that the staff is like afraid to throw the other guy in just because we don't want
Yeah.
to lose our quarterback and it's going to get in his head. And I don't know. Granted, I'm no SEC football coach, so
Quarterback's a
but
quarterback. I mean,
mhm. And there could be on the other side of that coin. It might not be just a Terry thing. They might be afraid if we throw this guy out there too much, he's going to get angry if we don't basically just give him the starting
that could
job.
be too.
So I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but yeah, I mean, overall though, I mean, I feel like the most we can really do for this episode is just kind of nitpick like we have been.
That's
I mean,
about
there's
it.
not
And
really, yeah, there's not a whole lot to be upset about or from the last couple of weeks, and it puts a lot of weeks 1 and 2 into perspective.
yeah, and if we can go out
Um,
and take care of business against Missouri and beat them, then we still have a chance to
or
go 500.
oh yeah, definitely.
Because Georgia, most likely a loss. I mean, I just don't see a scenario unless we have a monsoon come in the weekend of that game to say, oh, we're going to drown the field like last year.
right.
And it does that the whole game. They do have a backup quarterback that may play to our advantage. But with Georgia's defense, I mean, getting the run
Good
game is going
luck.
to be that's going to be a low scoring. That'd be a low scoring game. But I think the only
Yeah,
chance we got is rain.
beating the snot out of each other.
Bama is going to be ugly.
Oh, that's gonna be
Um,
bad.
yeah, I do not want Bama. Sorry, Drew Franklin, but
I
we
mean,
don't want Bama.
like really, the only reason you should ever want, like we should ever want Bama is if we just want to see like a measuring stick. How do we compete with a team like that? And if we do, how much?
Yeah,
But that's not a win. Like,
no,
we're not going to beat Alabama.
no,
We'll be if we compete against them, we'll be
no.
lucky.
We've got to be able to take care of
Yeah,
business
that was
against
kind of my
Missouri. Vandy should be no problem
that
unless
was
we
kind
lay
of
a
my
goose egg.
next. Yeah,
But go ahead.
yeah, that was kind of my next biggest thing was like, and you pretty much just answered it saying now that we've beaten Tennessee, like I guess now can we really get comfortable in saying that having a good season, a good record for this year, going 500 is that back on the table? And really, here we are again, where it seems like every week we're saying, okay, this weekend, like everything kind of hinges on that. Because I feel like this Missouri game, like if we lose, we're 2-3, probably 4 wins at best. But if we win, like we're headed in the right direction and we're right back on track to where we should
I
be.
think the 500 is going to boil down to if we beat Missouri, the 500 will
Hmm.
boil down to the last game of the season against South Carolina. We'll
Yeah,
go into that game either 500 or one game under 500.
yeah,
That's my prediction. Now, I would love to be wrong and somehow pull off an upset against
yeah.
Georgia or Florida and actually have a
Be
6-win
great.
season, but the Ole Miss loss kind of took that off the table.
Yeah, I mean, and it is what it is. I mean, it's nice to get the Tennessee win, and I mean, it doesn't really fix the Ole Miss problem, but at least puts us back to where we could have a record by the end of the year that we're not upset with. It doesn't look like a step back for the program. And that's the biggest thing. That's like I said, I feel like almost every week we've said, we lose to Auburn. Okay, Ole Miss game. Like this really makes a huge difference right here if we win or lose. Because if we lose, like we're in huge trouble. We lose to them. Okay, well we got to beat Mississippi State because if we don't beat Mississippi State, then we're really screwed. And then the game against Tennessee is what getting that win turned the trajectory from bad to at least better.
Right.
And here we are again looking at Missouri and going like this is what either is going to just put us back on the right track or really what we were hoping for this season is going to be kind of out of reach, which would be unfortunate.
It'd be
uh,
unfortunate, but we'll just have to wait and see. Time will tell.
yeah, but I mean at the end of the day, you go beat Tennessee in their house, can't be too upset about anything.
No, not at
Just got to
all.
be optimistic. um, Kind of looking ahead to that Missouri game, what do you think kind of big keys to the game are as far as coming out of there with a win?
As far as that goes, I guess we'll just have to see. I mean,
Mhm.
depends on if the secondary shows up or not.
Yeah, I mean, especially looking at a team like Missouri, they need to not kind of fall into some of the same mistakes and traps that they did against Auburn. Trying to go up and because they're going to let stuff fly, and our secondary just needs to be smart about what they try to go get. But really, even in terms of, I mean, we have the talent to go beat them, and it's nice to be able to say that talent wise, like it shouldn't be an issue. The big thing is going to be, do we? I mean, because this could be a trap game. I mean, we should beat them on paper. We should, but at the same time, if they come out flat or if they're still riding too high from the Tennessee win, do we come out and have another clunker and then it's kind of back to square one? So, I mean, that's really to me that's like just the biggest thing is
Yeah,
come out just ready to play and don't sleep on them.
yeah, I think you hit the nail
Yeah,
right on the head on that one. So,
yeah. I mean, surely to goodness our guys wouldn't be looking ahead to Georgia. Like, surely they'd be smarter than that. But
I hope.
then again, you never know. Yeah. Yeah. But we'll see. I think we're going to know pretty early in the game, kind of where our guys' heads are at. I mean, we'll know in the first quarter, kind of what we're dealing with.
Yeah,
And, hopefully they'll be firing on all cylinders, and we'll know that, we've got some guys who really have their head on their shoulders now, at least for now. Or if they come out and they look sloppy, really it's just going to be, can we make the adjustments like we did against Tennessee? And how does that go? Hopefully, it's just a continuation of what we've seen the last couple of weeks.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but no reason to not be hopeful, not be optimistic going into this game after this past Saturday. So,
No,
mm,
no, and the Rifle Cats won their match this past weekend against Morehead State. So,
nice,
starting off where they
sweet,
left off last year. So,
yeah.
#2 in the country right now.
Hey, can't be upset about that. That's good.
No, and the NCAA decided to be nice and award them the championship in 2024.
Well,
So, making up
sweet,
for the
yeah.
day of the championship start at Memorial being
Right.
canceled right about 20 minutes before the competition started.
Started.
So,
Ugh,
yeah,
what a
everybody was there.
crusher.
Yeah, everybody was there. Everything was set up, and they were literally like 30 minutes from starting the
Yeah.
competition.
Remember them showing like they were basically just prepping, getting ready to start, and all of a sudden it was shut it down, everybody go home, and that's
Yeah,
like, can you imagine?
I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, everybody's already there, so why not just go
Yeah,
ahead and finish that one up?
like they're already there, they're already exposed to each other. Just, I mean, it's like when we saw back in the spring the basketball games, we had conference tournament games literally being canceled like at halftime,
Yeah, it's like, what's
and
it
yeah,
matter at halftime? I mean,
it's like we've all been here for an hour at least, if not more. The teams have all been exposed to each other. Just play. It's not
yeah,
like
finish
it's
it up. You know,
yeah. I mean, it's not like the building's going to cave in or something. Like it is what it is. We don't need to run. We're already here. But yeah, speaking of basketball, really the only real big basketball news this week. I mean, we're still waiting on the Olivier Sarr stuff.
come on,
Crazy,
NCC.
but let's get this together. We're like a month away. But
Well, now
um,
that he has an extra
we
year
did
of eligibility, not that he would take it, but now that he has one,
right.
the SEC
This he
really
has
has
it.
no excuse anymore.
Yeah, well, I was reading some of the articles about that, and that's what they were saying is if the SEC wanted to be jerks, they could look at the bylaw that says basically dictates that at the time that he submitted for his waiver, he had 1 year of eligibility, so it only applies to like May, early May, if he had it or if he didn't have it. But to me, it's like, what do you have to gain by doing that? Just give him the waiver and let him go. It's stupid.
There's
It's
no.
yeah,
If you want to pull that, then ask about Felipe Franks.
yeah. I
How does he
mean,
starting football
that's
this year? How does he have a waiver already?
yeah.
Because he doesn't have. This is his last year of eligibility. He
Mhm.
transferred from another school directly here to Arkansas.
Yeah,
So, what's the
yeah.
difference?
I
That'd
mean,
be my question if I was Mitch Barnhart.
yeah.
But of course, Mitch has got to play nice right now where he's on the committee. So,
Right. Yeah, he kind of has strokes some egos and all that. But yeah, I mean, I'm knocking on wood right now and being very hopeful because and I don't want to say a prediction about SAR or anything, but I'll just say I've seen a lot of people on just different sides of the fence. Like some people, oh, he's definitely going to get eligible, and some people, oh, the longer it goes, the worse this sounds.
yeah.
But to me, it's just gotten to the point where if all of a sudden they came up and said, no, like he doesn't get a waiver, you can't play. Like NCAA clears him, conference doesn't. That would just be lunacy. So, and all they would be doing is making
The
their
SEC look
biggest
bad.
SEC look bad, and everybody from like their biggest, most prestigious program angry at them. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, other than just still playing the Olivier Sarr waiting game, I can't wait until we can do an episode and say Sarr is blank. But aside from that, we got another game added to the schedule today.
Yeah.
Actually, Kentucky SEC Big 12 Challenge. Kentucky's going to be playing Texas. That really wasn't one of the teams on my radar. How do you feel about playing Texas this year again in Rupp Arena?
Not looking forward to it. Not with the way their fans acted last time we had a game against them. I was present for
Yeah, that
that
was pretty
game,
bad.
and
Yeah,
there
I
was
was there
some
with you.
serious jerks.
I was
Um,
there. I remember that one. I was there with you, and that was like, wow. I wasn't expecting like Texas Longhorn basketball fans to get so riled up about nothing.
no, they were almost
But
as bad as Indiana fans.
yeah, it was pretty shocking because I kind of thought they'd be pretty even keel.
Yeah.
Maybe passionate, but I mean they were just ugly. And granted, like I was at the Texas Tech game this past year. I mean, I know like they're obviously different, but just kind of coming from the same state, the same kind of cultures and everything. Like the Texas Tech fans were fantastic.
Yeah, I was like
They
North
were,
Carolina fans from 2012 season. Well, it was 2011 at the time, but
yeah,
played them at Rupp Arena. One on
yeah,
Anthony Davis's block right
yeah,
there at the end. But their fans were great. Their fans are like, I can't believe we're even in the game when they're talking to you because we haven't hit
yeah,
a three all season. Now we've hit like 12 against you, and I'm like, yeah, I wish you hadn't, but it's been a good
right,
basketball game so far. Everybody's
yeah.
getting along, joking around, but not with the
Everybody,
Texas guys. I mean, they were just absolutely nasty.
yeah. I was very shocked. I thought they would just come in, hope to win. I mean, they were good that year. They were ranked like number 5 or something when we played them.
Yeah,
So I guess they were just really hoping to see a shocker and an upset. But I kind of thought they'd just be even keel and like, like if we went to a Kentucky football game like at Alabama, even if it was a closer game, we were ranked or something, I wouldn't be throwing around hate and vitriol at people. It'd just be like, hey, we're getting beat by like 50. This is fun. But
and heck, even if you, went to Mississippi State and played, I mean,
uh,
why be a jerk? You got a chance to win the game. Why be a jerk to their fans? I mean, we try to welcome
yeah,
fans
I
when they
mean,
come
well,
here, no matter what the sport. So
and that's why just thinking to myself, even when I was in Lubbock this past January, whatever, it was interesting because that was the first road game I've ever been to, first and only. And I remember just thinking like my instinct being there was just to be polite, even if we were winning, no matter what, be gracious if we lose. They can act however they want, but I'm just going to be cool because I hate it when obnoxious fans come into Rep Arena. So I'm like, I'm going to sit here and just be cool. I mean, I sat like strangers in Red Raider gear, just sat and like talked to people because we were there like a couple hours early. Nicest people ever.
yeah,
Intense. And it was really intimidating going into that building because they were nuts. And their student section like was almost frightening. But once I sat down, like all these people were just great. Um, yeah, very welcoming, even though they lost. Like heading out the door, I mean, there were fans from there like asking me and other Kentucky fans like, was this a good environment? Like, was this a fun atmosphere to be in? And I was honest with them. I was like, this is the best college basketball environment I've ever seen
Yeah.
with my own eyes, because I've only seen Rep Arena, and it was so crazy in there from start to finish. It's like I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
And they took that as like these Kentucky fans are saying like this is really cool.
Yeah.
So huh.
We're doing something right. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I haven't seen
yeah, in
Rupp
terms of
Arena like excited probably since that Carolina game. Like that
yeah,
Carolina game absolutely just kind of ruined me as far as the atmosphere in Rupp because it was so intense that game. I
set
mean,
that bar
the
so
bleed,
high.
the whole arena was shaking. I
Yeah,
mean, you're like, is this thing going to hold up to this? Because it was insane, and it hasn't been like
yeah,
that since that season. It's just got
no,
more and more down ever since then. I think it's because it's been so long since we'd had a good team that the fan base was really uh, fueled up and
yeah.
rejuvenated, and now the fan base is kind of back to that. They expect it.
Well, and especially Cal's first year with John Wall and Cousins, and then the third year with Davis and Kid Gilchrist and all that. I mean, you could tell there was just this renewed passion in the fan base because oh my gosh, like we're one of the best teams in the country again.
Yeah,
The fact that we were playing another top five team in Rupp, they're really good, we're really good. Like this is going to be awesome basketball. You tell like the place was fired up like we haven't seen it in almost 10 years. And I think a lot of that too is where we followed that year with a really dreadful NIT year. It's like it just kind of deflated us to a point, and we've never really fully recovered since then. Like even when we are good, it still just doesn't, it's not the same.
well, and we're almost a decade later, and that crowd in the lower arena is not getting any younger.
No.
So I think a lot of that has to do with it too, because upper arena still gets stoked. They still
Yeah.
do all the
Yeah.
other stuff.
If
But
you're up,
if you're not at the game, you're at home. It looks like the crowd is dead because it's all the old people on the bottom that are just like
everyone's,
falling asleep
yeah,
during the ball game.
sitting down with their legs crossed while the upper level is jumping up and down, screaming and carrying on.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, in terms of Texas and that being our opponent, one, I mean, I kind of fear we get a home game since we had a road game last year, a really tough one. I don't know. Texas, that's okay. I mean, they're supposed to be at least a ranked team going into the year, so we'll see how good they are by the time we play them. They do have the Greg Brown kid that Cal really wanted. He's supposed to be really good. Other than that, I really don't know anything about their team, but they are supposed to be like a top 20 team to start the year. My two I was really hoping for. I was really hoping to either get Baylor, just because they're projected to be a top five team starting the year and be really good again, um, or the rematch with Texas Tech and Rep Arena. That would have been pretty cool.
yeah. I'd like to maybe
But
see an
can't,
Oklahoma or something. Somebody we don't see very often.
yeah, something just different like would be nice. Um, the fact that we did it's just been like 5 or 6 years ago that we played Texas in Rupp Arena. Like, could we not make it like bring in a more unique matchup? I mean, I didn't really want West Virginia. I didn't really want Texas. Oklahoma would be fun, even if Oklahoma's not that great.
Yeah,
Like that still just would have been cool to have played like another name that you've heard of that isn't bad, and something we don't see.
exactly.
It's supposed to be the fun part of this challenge is being able to book these teams that we don't normally get to see. But I figure if nothing else, like looking at it glass half full, at least they're supposed to be a decent or good team this year. So it's not like they just sent in some like bottom feeder team from that conference. Here you go.
Yeah.
I mean, well, can't complain too much.
No.
But
Is there anything else you
it's
want to cover? We're slightly over 30 minutes already, so
yeah, I think it pretty much covers it for this time. Hope we come out and have a good game against Missouri
yeah.
again. This is going to be what kind of sets up the rest of the year. So hopefully we'll come out 3-2. But yeah, until then, uh, everybody, thanks for watching again. Please be sure to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to hit us in the comments. Let us know if you disagree with anything we said, if there's anything you wanted to add topic wise, anything like that. We'd love to hear from people. Be great. So, yeah, until next time, go Cats, and we'll see you next time.